A thriller in Gainesville. Anthony Richardson leads the Gators past the Utes and Ari.
My new man crush.
Yeah, it sounds like you have a new favorite player. The texts from Ari were just effusive. I think this is the word I'm looking for.
Yeah, I was upset that I didn't get him in our Heisman draft. I just like his swag. I like the way he carried the team. I've got a lot of quarterback obsessions, Drew Aller, Quinn Ewers, but you can add, Anthony Richardson into the mix for sure. It feels good to be back here with you. Saturday night, late at night, really fun day of games, some pretty insane games that were, I'm sure we'll get to a lot of them, but it was a very entertaining day of football, I thought.
Hey, Ari, do you know who got Anthony Richardson in our Heisman draft at The Athletic?
I have a feeling I know who did. What round was it?
Who has two thumbs and got Anthony Richardson in the third round of our Heisman draft?
Yeah, that's
this guy.
That's malpractice. That's malpractice.
Well, so I was going to do the DJ Uiagalelei Cade Klubnik handcuff because I had DJ in the second round. But when I saw that Anthony was available in the third, I'm like, I have to take Anthony Richardson. I can't not take.
Yeah.
Because if Florida ends up being good, it will be because Anthony Richardson was unstoppable.
I thought he looked almost close to unstoppable in that game from the portions of the game that I watched.
It is scary. If you go back to that touchdown, the long touchdown run in the second quarter, I don't know how you play man against this guy unless you're Georgia or Alabama and you have that level of athlete on your defense, because you saw what Utah did. They were playing man, and Florida just runs everybody to the other side of the field, so all of the DBs follow them. So Anthony Richardson has to beat like one guy, and he just outruns the rest of them and jukes a guy at the end.
I mean, there's no reason why a person that large should be that fast.
Right.
Like, when it comes to like the athleticism aspect of it, and a large portion of my journalism career was watching combination quarterbacks that were strong, big, and pretty fast when they got into the open field, get deployed in the run game. But we were texting at the end of that game because Florida was down by 4 points with like 2 minutes left, and they were facing a 4th and short. I think it was like 4th and 4 or something. And Billy Napier ran the clock all the way down. And I was like, well, if you don't get it, you're going to have no time. Why are you milking yourself? And Andy said, well, he knows that Florida probably can't stop Utah, so he's milking the clock. And I guess there's two ways of looking at that, right? It's one, that Napier doesn't trust his defense because Utah wasn't stopped at all in the second half, like you said. But also, two, I think it takes a tremendous amount of trust in your quarterback to know that he's going to get that first down. And what happened on that 4th down play? He rushed for the first down. And that to me is like the athlete that you can't account for. And then Florida goes on and, the defense still almost gave up a touchdown at the end there, but Anthony Richardson scored got the first down and then
scored. By the way, in Billy Napier's mind, one, that he was confident Anthony Richardson would convert that 4th down, but two, he did not believe in his defense in stopping Utah, and you saw why. Utah in about a minute was in the red zone, and if not for Amari Burney picking that pass off, was either going to score a touchdown and win or kick a field goal and force overtime.
But that's not a typical way of deploying the clock that you would see in a game. Because most coaches
it is because here's the calculus in his mind. And he's probably talking in his press conference right now. So if I'm wrong and he says something different, then feel free to yell at me, but I think I know where he's coming from. It is, you've decided how many possessions are left in the game. Now, we're going to talk about a game later, the Appalachian State, North Carolina game, that defied all of this logic.
That was defied human gravity and human logic.
Right.
Yeah.
But in normal football logic, if you're Billy Napier and you're running the clock down below 2 minutes in that situation, you are telling yourself, I have this possession to score. If we don't score, we lose. And if we do score, we need to make sure they have as little time as possible because my defense has not stopped them at all in the second half.
But the normal coaching thought process there would be, though, that if we don't get this 4th down, I want to leave enough time on the clock to try to get a stop and get the ball back.
No, this is
because they had 2 timeouts, didn't they?
This is not that abnormal. Here's the thing.
I don't remember seeing anybody do that before.
If they don't get the 4th down, they lose. They will not stop Utah. Like the way Tavion Thomas was running, the way Utah's offensive line was blocking, they were not getting a stop. Utah was going to get a first down, and the game was going to be over.
I know, but how many times do coaches veer off the conventional game management like card that they have that they sell in the Vegas casino gift shops. You know, you don't really, even though like you tell yourself, yeah, well, we can't stop Utah. Don't you still have to coach the game to give yourself a chance, even if you don't think you're going to get
he
that
won
stop?
the game. He coached the game exactly.
I know, but he didn't.
The right
he
way
didn't
to give himself
win
a
the
chance
game
to win
as a
it.
result of proper clock management. I mean, Utah went down the field and scored.
No, they actually didn't.
Would have scored anyway.
They tried to. They tried to.
They were inside the 5-yard line with plenty of time
Johnson
left.
tried to stay in bounds and got knocked out of bounds right before the touchdown. That would have taken another 40 seconds off the clock. Remember, also, Utah got an extra timeout because a guy's helmet popped off.
Yeah.
So,
okay, so maybe it was clock. I don't know. It
was absolutely clock. And look, if Ventrell Miller catches the ball that's thrown right at him, none of that matters.
Yeah, that's true.
You're not even talking about that.
But also, too, it's just like if you're going to do it that way, then you better make damn sure that you stay in bounds for the rest of the drive, too.
Daniel Simmons in our live chat, if Utah could run basic QB contain, they win. Yeah, if you were playing a basic QB, but you weren't. That's the thing. If Utah were playing a basic QB, they could have stopped him.
You know how I'm prone to hyperbolic things, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I want to try to pull it in a little. Well, I guess I'm not going to at all. I want you to pull me in.
Okay, I'll try.
Is this shades of early Cam Newton?
We were texting about this, and it's interesting because I covered the Mississippi State game where Auburn went there on a Thursday night early in 2010. And Cam didn't look like the dominant force he was going to become over the next few weeks yet. But I think back, and that Mississippi State defense had like Fletcher Cox and a ton of future pros. So it could have just been that was one of the most athletic defenses they played. That might have been the most athletic defense they played all year, to be perfectly honest. But he didn't look like that yet. And so maybe, but I do think Florida is going to have to play some very talented defenses down the road. Like LSU, we know we don't know what they're going to look like yet. They don't open their season until Sunday night against Florida State, but they have super athletes on their defense. Georgia's defense, we saw against Oregon, that thing's going to be dominant again. But I don't know. I'm not ready to go there yet. I need to see this more
well, let's go here then.
Okay.
Then. And I'm not trying to disparage anybody who played on Florida's roster last year or Jack Miller or anybody else. But Florida does not win that game if Emory Jones is their quarterback.
Absolutely not.
They don't win that game if Jack Miller's a quarterback.
Nope.
And the thing that is interesting, and I think Florida, you and I both have Urban Meyer backgrounds as beat writers, covering it. But like you can win a lot of games in college football by having that quarterback that can get you 5 yards a pop.
Yes.
And that's all he did the entire game.
Except the difference is he can also get you 45,
55
on the ground.
Right.
Yeah. And his arm. I mean, now I do think he's got to work on the touch on the shorter balls because he throws the Nolan Ryan fastball
no matter what. Yeah.
All the time. But he's got a cannon for an arm. So it was very exciting to watch. And by the way, you get Anthony Richardson versus Will Levis next Saturday.
Yeah.
In the Swamp. That's going to be fun.
Yeah. I know that we spent the first 9-10 minutes of our podcast talking about a game that nobody thought we were going to be talking about this much, but
I think this is the game everybody was talking about tonight, because we're going to get to Ohio State Notre Dame, which I thought was very interesting as well for different reasons. But that was not one of those that I said Friday, you, me and Nicole were picking. You and Nicole picked Utah. I said
no, I picked Florida.
Oh, you did pick Florida. That's right. Okay. Yeah. And I said, if Florida wins, it'll be because Anthony Richardson is really different. And that's exactly why they won. They won because Anthony Richardson is different.
And I'm not a talent evaluator, but is he like a first-round draft pick type of guy?
So Dane Brugler thinks he is a first-round prospect, but they need to see him in a full year as a starter before they really determine that. But he has first-round tools. He has probably the best set of tools of any of the quarterbacks who are draft eligible next year.
And when's the last time that a Florida quarterback had that many tools?
Never. They've had great quarterbacks, but they've never had one like that. Well, no, I take that back. Cam Newton.
Yeah, they had Cam Newton. It wasn't never. But it's kind of funny because it's almost like putting Tebow and Chris Leak in the same body.
He's faster than Tebow though.
Yeah. Well,
I
that's
mean,
the Chris Leak
it's
part.
it's more Cam or Vince Young type speed, but then can you be a decision maker like them? Can
I
you?
mean, which quarterback in the history of college football has been that large and that fast?
Cam Newton and Vince Young.
So, I mean, what about, again, hyperbolic nature aside, I think you're dealing with a person who is as physically talented as some of the greater players that we've seen. And I don't know if he'll reach that potential. It's very early, but it's a something to track.